This is Performance Insight with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist, a platform curated to build models of excellence for the marketplace and the nation.
Welcome to Performance Insight. I am Abiola Salami. This show is designed to build models of excellence in the marketplace and for the nation. So whether you're a man or woman, young or old, professional or an entrepreneur, I believe you can be a model of excellence in your industry and for this nation. As a model of excellence, you are required to deliver high quality results in your legitimate work. You are required to leverage your competence, character, creativity and courage and compassion to go above and beyond the call of duty to deliver the best possible results every time. And your results today must be better than your results of yesterday. When you have this understanding and you commit to delivering excellent work based on this understanding, you will generate better results and become exceptional, not only on your team or in your organization, but you will become exceptional in your industry. You will have a reputation of excellent performance in your industry, and that is what it means to be a model of excellence. Over the past 2 decades, I have served leaders in the private, public and social sectors, and I have discovered 5 crucial skills anyone seeking to become a model of excellence in their industry must master. On this season of Performance Insights, we'll be looking at one of those skills. The skill is called emotional intelligence. So I'll be sharing insights gathered by my book, The Magic of Emotional Intelligence, because emotional intelligence is such a powerful skill. I wrote a book on it, I have a virtual course on it, and the insights from this book will help you to improve your performance. This week, we will explore the topic, the crucial role of emotional intelligence in nation building.
This is Performance Insight with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist.
The crucial role of emotional intelligence in nation building. A country is usually an independent and sovereign state with a defined physical territory and in a particular geographical region. A nation essentially maintains the features of a country still, but it is distinct in that it is used when there is a high level of political, cultural, economic, and social cohesion. A nation doesn't just have an aggregation of people, but citizens and leaders who are ideologically united. Therefore, the first critical point to note is the difference between a country and a nation. While they are sometimes used interchangeably for self-governing entities, the nuances of both are important. Before the British arrived, the region that is now called Nigeria was a collection of thriving kingdoms and empires. There is the Nok civilization between 500 BC and 200 AD. They are known for their incredible terracotta sculptures, laid some early foundations of what would later become the culture mosaic we know today. Then came the Oyo Empire, the Benin Kingdom, the Sokoto Caliphate, each with their own governance structures and unique cultures. Back then, if you were visiting the Oyo Empire, for example, you probably wouldn't say, "I'm going to Nigeria." You would say, "I'm going to Oyo." And each region saw itself as a sovereign state. Then entered the British in the 19th century. They saw the region's natural resources and thought, hey, let's bundle all these people together into one big colony. So, in 1914, Nigeria was created through the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates. It was as if someone decided to throw a massive Nigeria wedding where none of the guests knew each other. Imagine being Hausa and suddenly you're expected to share a table with an Igbo man or with a Yoruba man at first glance. Fast forward to today, and Nigeria's population is over 200 million people, divided roughly into 3 major ethnic groups: Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, and Igbo, with hundreds of smaller groups like the Tiv, Kanuri, Nupe, and several others. Over the years, these groups have struggled to find common ground, and tensions have flared over who gets what slice of the national cake. Some of the most contentious topics, like control of oil resources, representation in government, and religious differences, particularly between the Muslim majority North and the Christian majority South. Tribalism has often discouraged nation building among Nigerian citizens. During elections, you will often hear phrases like, "He's our son," which translates to, "We will vote for him because he's from our ethnic group." This mindset undermines national unity and promotes short-term, ethnic-focused goals. In fact, Nigeria's first few decades post-independence were marred with military coups, many of which were driven by ethnic and regional interests. The Nigerian Civil War from 1967 to 1970 was a direct consequence of ethnic tensions, with the Igbo-dominated southeastern region attempting to secede as Biafra. India and Nigeria are examples of countries that haven't yet evolved into nationhood, and the reasons are replete. India is very pluralistic. Over 9 major faiths with a myriad of others with less notoriety. Over 12,000 political parties, 2,700 languages, with none being adopted as the lingua franca. Nigeria shares stark similarities with India in that they both share a strong division along ethnic, religious, and partisan lines. There are incessant incidents of intertribal and religious clashes. They both share a battle for geopolitical supremacy and polarized cultural differences. Countries like China, France, Russia, Ethiopia, and Egypt are examples of nations because of the high level of internal consensus that they have on issues such as foreign policy, culture and socioeconomics, political ideology, and religious disposition. This is not to say that countries cannot grow to become nations. The United States of America, for example, shows us how the aggregation of people, diverse people, and territories can over time grow into nationhood and even successfully export its values to the rest of the world. Nonetheless, it can be deduced that nation building involves a series of actions and events that are intentionally aimed at re-engineering a country and developing a distinct ideology and identity for it, such that it fosters peace within its borders while it better positions itself to meet strategic interests beyond its borders. It is the fortification of institutions that promote this congruency among different stakeholders, ethnicities, and political groups. More often than not, a curated type of education, which is an intangible asset of a people, is deployed. And that is where emotional intelligence comes in. Now, Nigerians, ever optimistic, often joke about their ethnic differences, but the humor can reveal deeper issues. You might hear a Yoruba person say, "You can't out-talk a Yoruba man," or an Igbo person jest, "An Igbo man will always find a way to make money." These light-hearted stereotypes, though sound amusing in social settings, it hints at the entrenched views people have about each other. In truth, many Nigerians struggle to see themselves first as Nigerians before their ethnic identities. Imagine if instead of asking, "What state are you from?" the common question was, "What have you done to make Nigeria progress today?" Nation building goes beyond economic policies and political systems. It requires a deep understanding of human behavior, emotions, and relationships. Emotional intelligence, which is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions and the emotions of others, is essentially for fostering unity, resolving conflicts, and creating an inclusive society. In a diverse nation like Nigeria, where ethnic, religious, and cultural differences often spark tensions, applying emotional intelligence can bridge the divide and inspire collective efforts towards national development.
Imagine a journey where every setback transforms into insight, where every risk opens a door, and every quiet moment of reflection becomes the foundation of bold action. Imagine an opportunity where you can forge your own trail, illuminate the hidden potential within, and guide others to find their light too. Imagine a time when you can step into your own space, where courage meets curiosity, and every challenge is a chance to grow. At Dr. Abiola Salami International Leadership Bootcamp, DASIL, We believe leadership is not something you were born into. It's something you awaken. It's the spark that grows when you challenge the familiar and step into the unknown. Join us at Livingstone, Zambia in July 2025 for DASIL 5.0 to rescale, reflect, re-strategize, and rejuvenate for peak performance. Contact us on hello@abiolachamp.com or call us on 0909-123-4567 to reserve your seats. Dr. Abiola Salami International Leadership Bootcamp, DASIL, where transformational leadership is reimagined.
This is Performance Insight with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist.
Meet Sarah, the Chief Operating Officer of a fast-growing tech company. Her story isn't just inspiring. It's a roadmap for any organization striving for workplace inclusion. Despite the company's success, she faced a major challenge: an imbalanced workplace. Leadership was mostly male, and women in mid-management roles felt overlooked. The result? Low morale, limited innovation, and stalled growth. Determined to change this, Sarah sought executive coaching from Dr. Abiola Salami. Over the next 2 years, she implemented strategic, measurable actions that transformed her organization into an inclusive, high-performing workplace. Here's how Dr. Abiola Salami's coaching helped Sarah drive results. Sarah learned that true change starts from the top. With Dr. Salami's guidance, she introduced mandatory inclusion training for senior executives and established clear accountability metrics. Department heads tracked female representation and took intentional steps to mentor and promote women. Leadership commitment to diversity increased, and perceptions of fairness improved by 50%. Next, Dr. Salami helped Sarah introduce a sponsorship program where senior executives actively mentored high-potential women. Women were placed on high-impact projects and given visibility in executive meetings. Within 2 years, promotions for women increased by 45% and career growth opportunities became more equitable. To foster an environment where all employees felt valued, Sarah implemented a zero-tolerance harassment policy, confidential reporting channels, and bystander training. Trust in HR policies rose by 40% and employees felt more empowered to contribute. Dr. Salami's coaching emphasized that gender inclusion isn't just a women's issue. It requires male allies. Sarah's company launched a male allyship program, equipping executives with the tools to advocate for gender diversity. Today, 70% of male leaders actively sponsor female employees, leading to a 30% increase in women-led projects. What gets measured gets managed. Dr. Salami guided Sarah's company in launching annual diversity audits, tracking workforce balance, promotions, and employee satisfaction. Over time, gender equity steadily improved, and data-driven decisions shaped future policies. Sarah's journey demonstrates that workplace inclusion isn't a one-time initiative. It's a commitment to equity, accountability, and growth. Thanks to Dr. Abiola Salami's coaching, she built a thriving, innovative, and inclusive company. Are you a senior executive ready to drive transformational change in your organization? Dr. Abiola Salami's executive coaching can help you achieve measurable results. Take the first step toward building a more inclusive workplace today. send us an email at hello@abiolachamp.com for a complete article on Sarah's transformation journey and other success stories of Dr. Abiola Salami's executive coaching. Visit www.tppafrica.com.
Emotional intelligence as a term was actually coined by two researchers, Peter Salovey and John Mayer, but the concept is largely popularized by Daniel Goleman. And Dr. Abiola Salami wrote a book on emotional intelligence for Africans. My book is titled The Magic of Emotional Intelligence. All of us scholars on emotional intelligence, we agree that emotional intelligence has 5 components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Self-awareness is the capacity of each of us to understand our emotions, to understand the triggers for our emotions, to understand our strengths and our areas of improvement. Not necessarily strengths and weaknesses, because when we say weakness, it means we're accepting that trait and owning it and not seeking to improve from it. But when we redefine it as an area of improvement, it means we are committed to working on it, whether by getting a coach, by reading a book, by attending a training, by listening to feedback. It helps us to improve on ourselves. That is self-awareness. Self-regulation is now using the knowledge we have about ourselves to make choices that will help us to achieve our goal, so that you can choose what you say and what you do in order to achieve your goal, so that you don't put your ego in the way of your goal. Motivation is now our willingness to do something that will help us to achieve a defined goal. Empathy is seeking first to understand before we are understood. Empathy is using our ears more than we use our mouth. Empathy is walking in the shoes of the other person, the shoes of the other tribe, the shoes of the other gender, the shoes of the other religion before we react. And not necessarily thinking that our religion, our gender, our tribe, or anything else is superior to that of others. Your culture is your culture. It's not superior to any other person's culture. Neither is it inferior to any other person's culture. Your gender is your gender. It is neither inferior nor superior to any other gender. Your religion is your religion. It is neither superior or inferior to any other person's religion. Your thinking is your thinking. Your philosophy is your philosophy. It is neither inferior nor superior to anyone else. And when we seek to really understand other people, we will build rewarding relationships with them, and we will be on our way to building a great nation that will be competitive in the world.
By the way, ignorance is not even much of a problem. Because if I don't know, and I acknowledge that I don't know, that's not much of a problem. It is those who don't know, and they assume they know. That's the biggest problem. And you say you've been around for a while, you have 15 years experience, but there are a lot of things you actually don't know. And when you say 15 years experience, what you have said is that you wake up every day, you go to work and you come back. That is actually the experience you're talking about, not the transformation you have gone through.
Well, we just finished the sessions with Dr. Abiola Salami, which was quite impactful. Well, one of the things I gained from that session was how to increase our performance or productivity by having a balanced emotional intelligence. I love the part where you spoke about logic and emotions, how you could basically almost every day of your life balance both two.
My takeaway today is on 3 nuggets. Number 1, resilience. Number 2, don't dwell on your mistake. And number 3, be aware of the other person in the room.
Now, you can book Dr. Abiola Salami to facilitate at your next board meeting, management retreat, or monthly performance review. Simply call 0702-666-8008 or email us on hello@abiolachamp.com. This is Performance Insight with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist.
And the final aspect of emotional intelligence is social skills, which is your capacity, my capacity to relate effectively with people, to build mutually beneficial relationships, to build win-win relationships, not to manipulate people, not to coerce people, but to persuade people and to build relationships where you are not the only one winning and they are not the only one winning, that both of you can win. With this thinking and this mindset, we will build solid businesses that will be competitive, not just within the country, but across the globe. With this thinking, we will build families that the world will want to adopt and the world will want to model. With this thinking, we will build businesses, build our nation to become competitive, not just within our continent, but across the globe. Now, when we recognize this and we understand it and we deploy these critical lessons, it will help us to improve our human relations and, of course, help us to improve our nation. And so, using these 5 imperatives, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills, we can draw a nexus between the essence of the 5 of them and nation building. And it is the job of leaders who desire for us to build a more cohesive and congruent society to integrate these things into our playbook from the local government level to the state level and the federal level. And we don't just wait for leaders alone. Every one of us, as you are watching right now, is to implement it in the work that you do, in the things you say to your children every day. The moment you are talking to your child and you make your child feel that your culture is superior to the other person's culture, or you say something about the other tribe or the other religion to your children, what you are doing is you are creating division. Division is not created when people carry arms and they are fighting. Division doesn't start with what people project in the media. Division starts with what we tell our children in our homes. It starts with what we talk about at our friends. The fact that you have met one or few people from a particular tribe or ethnicity and they behaved in a particular way doesn't mean everybody in that tribe behaves in that particular way. That is stereotyping. The fact that you've met people from a particular gender and a few of them behaved in a particular way doesn't mean every one of them behaved that way. If you want to emancipate yourself from mental slavery, beginning with self-awareness, it is important for us to see people and relate with them based on the content of their character, based on the level of their competence and understanding, and not by our prejudices and biases based on where they have come from. That we are not looking at people through the lens of our prejudices, the lens of our biases, the lens of our pain of the past that we've gone through based on people that look like them or talk like them. The beginning of rescuing ourselves from destruction as an individual is to emancipate ourselves from this mental slavery. For us to build this nation, a strong political will is required. You see, motivation is a much underrated component when it comes to nation building because knowing what to do is not enough. The willingness to take the right actions, regardless of tribe, tongue, ethnicity, and personal interest, is crucial. Emotional intelligence manifests itself in terms of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation looks at the domestic reasons for wanting to pursue nation building, which is considered more selfish. That's where personal interest comes in. Now, it is considered more selfish than altruistic. While extrinsic, the other one, looks at the external reasons for wanting to pursue nation building, which is considered more altruistic. Both of them should be considered. In Rwanda, for example, after the civil war that destroyed the fabric of that country, where millions of people were murdered in cold blood based on ethnic profiling, the Hutus and the Tutsis had their militia groups wreak unimaginable havoc on each side of the tribal divide, and the country looked irredeemable after the war. Today, under its leadership, it is a crime to identify a person by their ethnicity. People are identified collectively as Rwandans and nothing else. So we need people to be identified collectively as Nigerians, not as Yoruba first, not as Igbo first, not as Hausa first, not as Kanuri first. It doesn't mean that we're eroding the cultural identity of the individuals, but because we have a goal to build a cohesive nation that is forward-thinking and forward-looking, it is important that we do this in our nation. That you are first a Nigerian, And this is not about propaganda. It is about what we think about, what we talk about, and what we do consistently. It is about what we say in our homes, what we say in our religious organizations, what we say everywhere we go to build this unity. Now, for Rwanda, coupled with the trial of major actions in their infamous genocide, that approach has gone a long way in achieving social justice for them, exorcising the ghost of the 1994 massacre, which was the civil war that they experienced. And it has attracted a lot of investments to that country. A fundamental lesson in emotional intelligence is around seeking concessions and compromise. And it takes empathy to shift grounds on a previously non-negotiable subject. A lot of times, different stakeholders across party lines, across religious lines, across tribal lines, hold on to some sentiments because they haven't been exposed to new truths and fresh perspectives. These points of view can only come from a genuine desire to know what the other party considers important or of less priority. If you think my opinion, my thoughts are invalid, I would most likely not listen to you. The same way, if you have the perception that I think your opinions are invalid, you will most likely not listen to me. The way to go is to really truly listen to each other. Staying with the Rwandan redemption, there was something known as Gakaka courts. They set up this to achieve transitional justice. And in those settings, the government representatives, the victims, and the perpetrators of the crime were intimated with grueling details of not just the crimes, but the effect on the community. So everybody is brought together in the same room, all parties in the same room, without any other agenda apart from building a nation. These stories didn't just secure a conviction for culpable persons, but it drew so much empathy from all the stakeholders. And then it gained overwhelming support. They got funds, which ensures that people that survive that era, that their education, their health, their housing, and even a campaign against war was well financed. And with that, we've not heard or seen any civil war in that country till date. Another strategy that we can adopt from emotional intelligence to build our nation is community-centric communication. This aspect of emotional intelligence deploys key social skills in bridging the gap in very polarized polities. Sometimes, the optics of handling a situation go a long way than even the hard lifting of the situation itself. Using tools that show up the emotions of a people genuinely connects and allows more fluidity in previously hardline positions. Now, one former president that did something remarkable we can learn from was George Bush. After 9/11 happened, President George Bush stood on the wreckage in central Manhattan with a first responder and promised the United States will deliver a righteous response to those who attacked their beacon of freedom, the city on the hill. Now, it didn't matter so much what he said or what he did not say. Images of a sitting president around the arms of a first responder that is representing a group of people who often do thankless jobs, that image went viral. And the consensus among the citizens was that this president was with them in the trenches and that he will follow through with the things that he said. Even though they later took out Bin Laden during the Obama era, but President Bush laid the groundwork for a patriotic response to terrorism on the homeland. When individuals and institutions take responsibility for their emotional responses and actions, they foster a culture of empathy, respect, and collaboration, which is the foundation for sustainable growth. So whether it is through citizens engaging in community service or leaders practicing transparency, the application of emotional intelligence creates an environment where everyone is invested in the nation's progress. The power of emotional intelligence in nation building therefore lies in its capacity to enhance both personal and collective responsibility.
Thank you for joining Performance Insights with Dr. Abiola Salami, a platform curated to build models of excellence for the marketplace and the nation. To watch the full video on today's topic, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and also watch more videos to boost your performance. Just type Dr. Abiola Salami on YouTube. Also, follow us at Abiola Champ on all social media platforms and Dr. Abiola Salami on LinkedIn. The magic of emotional intelligence is available as a virtual course. Visit www.tppafrica.com/academy to sign up. You can book Dr. Abiola Salami to facilitate at your next board meeting, management retreat, or monthly performance review. Simply call 0702-666-8008 or email us on hello@abiolachamp.com.
Join me same time next week as we explore more lessons from my book, The Magic of Emotional Intelligence.
This is Performance Insight with Dr. Abiola Salami, the world-class performance strategist.